How's everybody doing? So today we are officially 8 weeks post-op and 2 weeks into physical therapy. So 2 weeks ago, I'll start 8 weeks ago. I had the surgery for my scapholunate ligament reconstruction, and 2 weeks ago I got the hardware removed, the pins taken out from my wrist, and was able to start physical therapy. So I gotta be honest. So when I got the pins taken out, just seeing kind of how swollen my hand still was, and seeing just the lack of ability to move the hand, any real functional use of the hand was not there, and I was pretty skeptical when the doctor had told me, just give it a week or two, and you'll see a significant difference. But with that being said, after starting the occupational therapy, it has been. I've seen a lot of improvement. So, first of all, the swelling has gone down quite a bit. The swelling has gone down. You still see some here over in this side here, a little bit through the fingers, in there a little bit, but compared to what it was, it's drastically better. There is still a lot of numbness in here. So kind of from this middle knuckle over. So this whole little quadrant right here is just, it's all numb, like completely numb. And I'm talking about, like, I can dig my nail in over here and it hurts. I dig my nail in here and I don't feel a thing. And so that is just the nerves and everything are still so affected by the swelling that is still left down here in the wrist area, that it just cuts off the circulation. So little by little, I am feeling a little bit more. Every so often I feel some tingles in there, which means that the blood is starting to flow back in through there a little bit more regularly. There is I got a compression glove to help with the swelling, especially to help with the swelling at night. So I put that on at night, and that really helps. So just little by little, it's kind of getting there. So today, 8 weeks later, I just went today. I had an appointment. I got the stitches removed from where they took the pins out. So hopefully that is the last time they will be cutting me open and stitching me up for anything. Got an x-ray done and everything looks good. So just to give you guys a quick update of kind of what things look like. So at this point now, 2 weeks after, this is the kind of motion I have in my wrist. And this is 3 times physical occupational therapy 3 times a week for an hour, and also home exercises daily. So what the therapist does is they measure any growth and progress in degrees, kind of from how you can bend your joints. And going this way, I think the very first day I went, I think I started at like 13 degrees or something like that. And now it's up to about 40 something. And then going backwards, I started at -2 actually, and now I'm up to 13. So so slow progress, but progress none the same. With the fist, I can make almost a full fist. I can squeeze it a little bit, but the ring finger and the pinky finger are still a little bit behind in this top knuckle here. Really kind of being able to really kind of tuck it under and really ball up the fist. So I can get it to here and, kind of wrap the thumb around and make a solid little fist, but I can't really squeeze past this. I can squeeze an object that wouldn't allow me to make a whole fist. But even like if I were to take my thumb and kind of squeeze it, I don't know if you can see, like, my hand is kind of shaking a little bit. But anything bigger than that, I can feel like I can put a little pressure. But you see the swelling going down. You see the veins there and the nerves, the tendons starting to show. So things are really looking up. The only way that I really don't feel any progress in movement is if I'm going like side to side, kind of like this way, side to side. Right here, I'm really just kind of moving the top part of my hand up here. I don't really feel any movement in the wrist when I'm going side to side this way. So that's kind of something. A lot of things that they have me working on are just like I said, mainly the dexterity in the fingers, kind of going back and forth. Each finger. The last time I wasn't even close to this. I think I was probably like way over here. Now I can get it there. One of the exercises actually that the therapist has me working on is touching the top of my pinky and then just sliding my thumb down, trying to keep it connected to that pinky and seeing how far I can get. So when I first did this on, what's today, Friday? When I first did this on Monday, I went from about here and instantly it was disconnected from the pinky. By Wednesday, I was able to get to probably, that top knuckle, and then it started to disconnect. And now I'm able to get kind of almost all the way down. It's really, really tight here on the outside part, and then in here, I probably couldn't go much further than this without either disconnecting from the pinky, or just it really, really hurting on there. So honestly, that's progress that I'm happy with. I can kind of get almost all the way over, that way, kind of getting across. The goal is to get over here to the side of the hand, right in this part here. But some of that is going to take loosening up this part to get my thumb to be able to really set down. I can kind of reach it across, but I can't reach across and then, kind of lock it down in. So I'm very hopeful. I am very optimistic, but it is slow going. It is a slow process. So I am gonna really, again, I think I did in the last video, stress the importance of the home exercises, because a lot of those are what really brings most of the flexibility back in the fingers, especially in these joints here. The one thing that I have noticed over the last week, so I started noticing it. So I kept in my head, I was calling it PT, but it's actually occupational therapy. It's OT. When I first started OT 2 weeks ago, so I started on a Monday, came Wednesday, Friday, that Saturday. So a week ago tomorrow, I started noticing that my hand was moving much more naturally. So when I say, for instance, got this box of tissues, if it was sitting out on the counter, if I were to just naturally reach out to go grab the tissues, whatever my hand and fingers would do to have to pick that up, I noticed that the muscle memory was starting to come back, and they were starting to do that. The only thing that was really holding it up is the fact that my hand still wasn't as strong. It's a little bit stronger this week, and the flexibility in the wrist, right? So kind of when I go to reach, anything that would require me to really reach out, you get that last minute hitch up in the wrist to kind of grasp onto it. That's where I kind of fell short. Especially if I'm standing and kind of reaching down for something, I really don't have that flexibility up, up in the wrist yet. So that was really the only thing. But my fingers themselves were acting and moving much more naturally, kind of how they would. So that's definitely a milestone that I noticed. But the importance, I think, of doing those home exercises and really keeping all of this as loose as possible, as much as possible, because it does not take much for it to stiffen back up. So for a perfect example, every single night, so every single morning when I wake up, my hand is pretty stiff, and that's because you're talking about anywhere from 4 to 7 hours of just of no movement. So if you kind of get caught up during the day, and the thing is, I still do favor the hand a little bit, because I still know that it still is kind of weak. It's not very strong yet, so it still is weak. So if you go throughout a whole day, and maybe you kind of only did the exercises in the morning, and now it's nighttime, you haven't really used the hand like that, and you're not gonna see as much progress if you really do stick to those 2, 3, 4 times a day of doing them. I always make sure I do them. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed. I have a shout out to that, and I think I meant to put it in the last video. I was gonna put the link for the CBD balm stick that I keep talking about. I rub that on, I massage it in real good. I throw a heating pad on it for a little bit, because that's what they do in OT. So the heating pad goes on during the OT session, so I make sure I do that at night. I sit there for, 10-15 minutes with the heating pad on it, and then I go through a full set of the exercises that I was given. And sometimes I'll even add on some of the things that I've been doing in the OT sessions. A lot of working this, so I work with a lot of clips, using these fingers to open clips. I showed you the one where I do I do a towel. I have my hand on a towel and I have to use my thumb to kind of gather the towel in. I'll turn it long ways and I'll have to gather the towel in, you know, like this, using those, kind of put my hand flat on the table and really bringing in and having to, you know, lift these knuckles to get it in and back out and kind of, and gather the entire towel. Doing the ABCs, kind of holding an object. The therapist suggested just kind of holding an object just to kind of keep the fingers kind of engaged, like a little tennis ball. You could use anything really. And then just using, doing the ABCs. So, you know, it doesn't seem like it's much because there's not a whole lot of movement still, especially the side to side and any angles within the wrist. But just, you know, A, right, B, and making sure that you're not really moving the fingers, but more, you know, that you're moving the wrist, you know, D, E, you know, and that's why holding the ball is important, because then it's hard to tell, like if I'm not holding anything, it's hard to tell what's really moving. Is it the fingers moving or is it the wrist moving? So if something can be, if I can hold this and then, you know, and really, you know, kind of do it, it really gets, it really puts more emphasis in moving the wrist and moving that joint. So even though there's really not much motion that's going to be done, but it is something. So, you know, I'll do a lot of those throughout the day. I actually had to go into the city today to get the stitches taken out. So I did a lot. I did a lot of the the exercises in the car. So you can always find time to do them, especially if you are back to work at some point with this recovery process, with the therapy process. You can definitely find time to do it if you have a desk job, if you have something where you do it where you are sitting for some short periods of time. It really only takes but 10 minutes to run through one set of the exercises, if that. It probably doesn't even take 10 minutes. So you know, really, really important to keep doing that. But otherwise, had another x-ray today. Everything's really looking good. So what I look forward to the most is, even more so than the stiffness in the wrist, I look forward to just continuing to gain the strength back in my hand. Because I think that's been the most difficult part to adjust to, is really just the inability to use my hand in any functional kind of way for such a long time. You know, it's been 2 months since I've really been able to use my hand for anything, you know, hold anything, go grasp anything without really having to support it, you know, anything like that. Just hold a pen and write. Because even at this point, you know, when you hold a pen, these fingers kind of get tucked in there. A lot, you don't realize how much your wrist is involved in writing. So, you know, when I'm writing, it's more like kind of coming from my shoulder and my fingers and like just the top tip of my fingers there, other than, you know, really getting my wrist involved and doing that. But, you know, I'm forcing myself to use my right hand. I've kind of stopped using my left hand with stuff like that. Back to brushing my teeth with my right hand. You know, just the little things, trying to get as much muscle memory back into this hand as possible to really, really get it going, and doing some of those just everyday tasks and activities that we don't think about, that we just kind of take for granted. So I think that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, is really just gaining that strength back in my fingers and my hand. Just because it's been, you know, I've been without use of it now for 2 months, and that's been pretty difficult. So I told my therapist, she asked me in the beginning, what are 3 goals that I have with this therapy? And my first goal is to be able to pick up my daughter again. I have a youngest daughter. I have 4 children, but my youngest is 5. And since I tore the ligament back in January, I adapt my ways to pick her up, you know, but I just want to be able to play with her. I don't want to have to support. I don't have to go down. I don't have to lift her with my elbow that hurts her armpit, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I just want to be able to go and just scoop her up, you know, whenever I want to. I want to be able to shoot a basketball again. Basketball has been a really, really big part of my life. And, you know, as nice as I am with the left and as natural as it looks with the left, it's not that, you know, I want to be able to kind of get back to being able to just dribble the ball, catch the ball without having, you know, I'm literally still on the court. Anything I do on the court when I coach, I'm doing literally one-handed. So, which has actually put a lot of strain on my shoulder. But that's a whole other story. That could just be because I'm 44. So, you know, those were two of the goals that I had set because, you know, just very, very, really important things, things to me in my life to be able to kind of get back to doing. But patience is the key. I think patience is going to be the biggest part of this. It is a slow process. Like even if you were just working every day, and like I said, I do these exercises 7 days a week, right? I got the therapies 3 days a week, but I'm doing the exercises 7 days a week, at least 4 times a day. At least 4 times a day, usually more like 6 or 7. And it is a slow process. So patience is the word of the day. Anytime when you have to deal with this, with the recovery part, and just understanding that it is going to get better. I see the progress every day, and you know, so that's kind of where it's at now. So at this point now, I don't go back for another month. So you know, I'll finish this first round of therapies. I'll get another round of therapies. You know, and kind of just keep seeing where we're at. You know, this is it's scheduled out to be kind of like a 3 to 5 month therapy session. Probably more, you know, probably definitively 4. You know, but that's gonna be the process. So patience is gonna be the word of the day. Just understanding that every single day, every single tiny bit of progress is progress. So, you know, don't get yourself too caught up on what you're still unable to do. Really focus on the things that you are now able to do again. You know, little by little, with some consistency, with some strength, with some effectiveness, and you know, and you'll just see, you'll see it kind of working, right? Even just this right here, just 2 weeks ago, there's no way I would have thought that I would have been doing this with my hands, you know. And it's weird because I still do feel a pull right here, right? It's still tight, the nerves are still tight, so I feel a pull, you know. But you know, and you see, obviously, it's not the same level of, I mean, I have really long fingers, and but it's still not the same exactly, right? You know, don't get that same stretch all the way up, but it's something, right? It's something. I can open and close, open and close, open and close. I can move my fingers around, you know. So little bit is little bit. So, you know, if you're going through this process right now, the recovery process, just keep it going little by little. If it's something that that's coming up, as the 5-year-old yelling, if you hear, if you see the progress, I'm sorry, if you have the surgery coming up, have the procedure coming up, just understanding that, like, listen, get past those first, you know, 6 to 8 weeks with the cast, with the hardware, with the pins in it, get all that stuff done, and then now, you know, this part is your time to shine. Just get in there and just making sure you do whatever you got to do, everything possible. It does get very tedious. The therapies are uncomfortable. A lot of the stretching and pushing of the joints and the exercises. Your arm is going to be very tired. My arm gets tired all the way up to my elbow because, you know, I was explaining to me that all these nerves and tendons and ligaments just travel all here, and most of them end up right over here. So, you know, my whole arm is tired by the end of the day. But then you got to get up the next day and you got to do it again. You got to do it again, or, you know, it's never going to get back to even half of what it was. So just keep going. I'll keep updating. I am going to, this week, I'm going to put together a little video of the exercises that I've been doing in OT to give you guys an idea. So thanks for watching. Again, share any questions, get in the comments, and look out for another video.